Hi everyone, welcome back for another whiskey review. Today I'm looking to retry this older release from the Signtory vintage independent bottlers. This particular bottle was actually one of two I acquired probably 3 years ago. And this particular Ledaig was quite a young whiskey that I deeply fell in love with because I was probably relatively new to the whole concept of independent bottlings, and I had drunk quite a lot of single cask whiskies from Gordon MacPhail and Signtory at that point. But this particular one caught my eye because this is part of the you got the Signtory cask strength, and this seems to be like a step below where they tend to marry a couple of barrels together, but also they will water the whiskey down to 46%. So still non-chill filtered at 46%, and more importantly, at its natural natural color. Sorry. So the whiskies are still relatively unique, limited, you could say. This one in particular was a marriage of two first filled bourbon barrels, and distilled in 2010 and bottled in 2017, 7 years. So I'm just trying to remember. I think it's 2018, early 2018 or late 2018 when I got these two bottles. And I remember drinking a bottle where the whole bottle was gone. And I've been nursing my way through the first one, and this one is starting to come down a little bit. Now, Ledaig itself, I've tried several expressions of Ledaig now, predominantly from independent bottlers, distilled on the Isle of Mull by Tobermory Distillery, who are predominantly making unpeated whiskey, under the Tobermory name, and then they do a certain quantity of this Ledaig stuff, which is heavily peated. Quite unusual, obviously, but it is also quite challenging, I guess, as a distillery to do, a bulk of its production is unpeated and then do a small amount of unpeated whiskey. In the official bottling range, I've tried the 10-year-old and the 18-year-old, which are both really, really good. And I've got an open bottle of 18-year-old right there, which is one of my most favorite 18-year-old official bottled whiskies. Back to this one in particular. In New Zealand, this particular range from the Signtory vintage, I haven't really seen much of. There is still a steady supply of the single cask strength stuff coming, but this sort of one step below, two barrels together and watered down to 46% stuff, haven't really seen a lot of it coming in. I'm not sure if they're not releasing much, but I do know for a fact New Zealand tends to get a little bit less allocations than other parts of the world, so they might not be seeing a lot of it here. Very, very light, very, very delicate color. It is a young whiskey, and being an ex-bourbon cask, you wouldn't really expect too much color from there, but also being at such a young age, it hasn't really imparted much color from that ex-bourbon cask. And I mean, you could almost say that it hasn't taken on any color in this instance, but on the nose, there's quite a lot going on with this whiskey. You get a very gentle waft of smoke, very gentle, ever so delicate, followed by a solid dose of pineapple, ripe pineapple, which is very interesting. And the smoke, I guess, they say Ledaig is a heavily peated whiskey, but obviously for me, I've drunk some truly heavily peated whiskies from Bruichladdich and other distilleries. This seems like gentle smoke. It's very approachable. It's not overpowering in any way. And if anything, I would say having Ledaig whiskies could be a great way for you to introduce yourself to smoky whiskies. If things from Islay, like a Lafroig or an Ardbeg 10 is annoying you and it's too challenging, this could be a great way to train your palate to understand and accept some smoky whiskies. There is amazing sweetness, underlying sweetness on this particular whiskey. And being a 7-year-old, being ex-bourbon cask, you're expecting that little bit of honey. But for me, in this particular case, it's just amazing pineapple. Can't stop getting it. So good. And there's just a hint of citrus on the nose, which is just absolutely delicate. And I mean, Usually, I wouldn't get so excited about a young 7-year-old whiskey. We tend to drink Scotch whiskies, which are much older. But this particular release, I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm kind of glad I had 2 bottles, I had the foresight to acquire 2 bottles at the time. Well, let's sip it and see what it's like. The palate, there's lovely smoky character with a little bit of sweetness coming through, but this amazing minerality, which really I find it quite rewarding. I suppose in the palate it is still quite smoky, which some non-smoky whiskey whiskey drinkers might find a bit challenging, but it's still quite a bit in terms of smoky strength below the Lafroigs and the Ardbeg. Doesn't have that medicinal character, that harshness some of the Islay whiskies can present. I mean, this is dangerously sippable and sessionable, and in a weird way, I've got to give credit to myself that I've hung on to the second bottle for this long. It's just amazing, really, really good. And I guess in a way it challenges the norm. Should we be drinking young whiskies, and if they have a value for us, definitely a freak of nature like this could come into your collection. I had just forgotten to show the tin they used to come in. Beautiful tins. Lately, stock I've seen in New Zealand has been in cardboard, sort of kind of looks like tin, but it feels like cardboard cases. And this is the first ever bottle that I opened of it. Just realized there's a little bit left in there, and I probably should polish that off. But very interesting whiskey, and I suppose the message of this particular video would be not to be afraid to try young whiskies. They can be quite good. I recently tried a 5-year-old Bunnahabhain aged for 5 years in a sherry batch, and that was just phenomenal whiskey, phenomenal, very high in ABV. So I had to add a bit of water to it to tame it down. But don't be afraid to drink young whiskies. They can give you a lot of joy. Well, that's it I've got to say about this particular whiskey. If you are liking the content, please like, share, and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the very near future for another whiskey review. See you later. Bye-bye.